this is something that I've practiced for about the last 4 years. And it's been very, very helpful for me. Here it is. Daily goals done by one, right? Just write it down below. Hashtag done by one. Done by one. What I want you to do is every morning fill out your high performance planner, know what you need to focus on and get done that day, and then ask yourself, if I had to get this done by 1 p.m., how would I do it? If I only got to work until 1 p.m., and I know some of you only do work till 1 p.m. because we got a lot of extraordinary, successful people in this community who, you work your mornings, you take your afternoons off. I get it. I appreciate you too. But for those of you who have not achieved that yet, okay, let's think about it. Let's ask this question. If you only had, let's imagine the day only went till 1 p.m. Obviously you couldn't get everything in. So what do you have to focus on? If you're going to have done by 1, what do you have to focus on? The major priorities and the needle moving activities. Write it down. The major priorities of the day and the major needle moving activities done by 1. That's what I do. And people are like, how does he get so much done? I'm probably not doing any more than anybody else. It's that every day though, the major priorities and the major needle moving activities done by 1. Write it down. Major priorities, major needle moving activities done by 1. Then guess what? It leaves the whole afternoon to all the randomness of life, right? Oh, I got to take a call. Great. Guess what? I don't take any calls till the afternoon. Why? I set that up so that I can make sure that I focused on the morning being dedicated towards moving my life and my business forward. That was my progress check. That's what I focus on. It's like, did I do what is necessary this morning before I took random calls from other people, asking me things, pitching me things, interviewing me on things? Now, some of you say, well, that's just not possible, Brendon. I got to get the kids up, get them to school, come back, check my email, respond to everybody else. And I'm like, no, you need to do your job and get it done by 1. The major needle moving activities that are your job, get it done by 1. You got to reorient the day. Now people say, well, Brendon, what is 1? I said, well, 1 is kind of arbitrary, isn't it? Because if you got it done by 2, would that be equally good? Yes. But the done by 1, because it rhymes, it sticks in your brain a little bit, right? You guys like this? It's like done by 1 mentality allows me to move ahead faster because I only have till 1 o'clock to get my major needle moving activities. So every day by 1, the major things that had to get done, that I had to do, I've either got them done or significantly along the way. And that's what's important. But many people aren't doing that. You know what you're doing? You're spending so much time reacting to everybody else in the morning that you're not doing the major things that were on your plate that you were supposed to do. And that is why I know without a question in my mind that to double the progress of this group, Team HPX, we can do it, guys. We really can do this. We can double your progress if we can help you adopt this mindset of done by 1. Figure out what are the major priorities of this day and what are the major needle moving activities. Now I always get asked, what's the difference between the two, Brendon? What's the difference between a priority and like a needle moving activity of my life or my business? Okay, let's talk about priorities. Maybe your priority today, let's see, one of your priorities might be something as simple as, you know what? Call my uncle. He's sick. He's sick in the hospital. He's a priority day. I gotta call him. Okay, I'm gonna call him by 1. That's a priority, right? A needle moving activity is an activity usually related more towards an output. Like an activity like, okay, something that moves the needle forward in your brand or your business. For me, as an example, a podcast episode, as simple as that sounds, might be a needle moving activity. Great, that moves the needle in growing our brand. Cool, episode done by 1. Oh, needle moving activity? That may mean a major email broadcast to my email list. Great, done by 1. Major needle moving activity? Call somebody who I'm going to do a business deal with, or who's going to be an affiliate promotional partner, call is done by 1, because that was a needle moving activity, right? Something that moves the business or your life forward. Sometimes your priorities can be relationships. Your priorities can be handling things for your wife, your husband, your spouse, your partner, the kids. Those are priorities for the day. Those are just like, that's a priority. It has to get done today. And this specific day, it has to get done. It can't get done tomorrow, because it wouldn't be a priority if it was tomorrow. Today, it's a priority, right? Priorities are today. So it's not just a to-do list, because lots of things on to-do lists. Like, I bet you've written to-do lists before. And isn't it true a to-do list sometimes for you carries over to tomorrow? Well, that's the difference between a priority and a to-do list. Follow? Because sometimes you write things on a to-do list, it's okay if you get at them to it 3 days from now, 10 days from now, 50 days from now. A priority today. Urgent, immediate, necessary. Let's deal with it today. And not just emergency reaction, but you put it there. It was on your battle board. It was in your game plan. It's in your high performance planner. It's going to happen today. Got it? So this idea of done by 1 has really served me throughout my life. And I really want you to hear this, guys, because I can't be more honest about something than this one. I'm not a morning person. I'm absolutely not a morning person. And I still implement done by 1 mentality, even as I'm not a morning person. Some of you know me for a long time, or if you're new to the membership, I can welcome here. I'll tell you some things about myself once in a while as we do these. I'm kind of a nutty professor in the morning. I wake up, Denise is so happy and she's excited to do things, and I walk out into the kitchen and she's like, hi, and she hits me with a list of 74 things she's thought of and done. She's already downloaded from the universe all the obligations in the history of humanity as a woman, as a leader, as a wife, as a daughter, caregiver, family leader. She's already got it all down. And I'm kind of like, huh? Like, my brain does not kick on. I think it used to kick on a little bit faster, but since 2011, when I had my brain injury, it's a little slower. I'm a little slow roll in the morning. And, I don't turn to a cup of coffee usually. I just let my brain kind of wake up, and I start, moving my body. So some of you know my morning routine. I do 20 minutes of movement. So I do yoga, calisthenics, stretching, or a walk, or a jog, or just something for 20 minutes. And it's not my workout of the day. It's just to open up my body, get mobility, activate, right? Then I spend 20 minutes with a book, something good, something I can read that is inspiring, makes me think, it gets my brain turned on by reading. Then if I don't feel like reading, for any reason, if I don't feel like reading for the 20 minutes, I'll close my eyes, I'll visualize and think through the day. Then I'll spend 20 minutes with my high performance planner. And people are like, you spend 20 minutes with your high performance planner? And I think I've misspoken on that a few times, and you guys busted me on it, and it's okay. In that, I spend 20 minutes with the high performance planner, and usually like a battle board type thing. So I'll fill out the high performance planner. I'll consider the overall context of what I'm doing. So I'll flip more to those monthly pages in the high performance planner. And then I'll kind of sit there, I'll visualize, I'll think about it. Okay? I'll walk through the day. How could I do that activity with excellence today? How could I be really present today? What might trip me up today? The questions in the high performance planner. I'll take those on. And then as I do all that, I'll go, okay, I'm ready for the day now. I'm ready for the day. And I get excited because that morning warm up, my body's open, my mind is open, my day is planned. Let's go. Before that though, I'm gonna, and then bam. So I got to go through that hour in the morning, but then I'm ready to go. And then my mentality, that doesn't matter. If that happened, if I had a late night and it's 10 a.m. and I do that by 11 a.m., still, my question would be, okay, gosh, I'm only starting work here at 11 o'clock. Shoot, Brendon, it's 11 o'clock. I'm only starting at 11 o'clock, Brendon. Done by 1. What would you absolutely have to SWAT team by 1 p.m. to be done by 1? And I cannot tell you how powerful this mentality is. Because guess what it is? It's your insurance policy. Because if you finished your major priorities and your major needle-moving activities by 1, then all the firefighting and emergency reactive things you have to do the rest of the day, you got time for it. You know, you want to explore something, you want to get distracted and looking at something, hey, more power to you. You are done by 1. You want to deep dive into something you dork about, spend another hour on your passion, spend that extra 30 minutes at the gym today, no problem, done by 1. You follow how powerful this is? It's your insurance policy, getting it done by 1. I hope that you give it a try, guys. If you like this idea, if you do, and you achieve something awesome, use hashtag done by 1, hashtag HPX Life. Let us know, Team HPX. We'd love to see what you're doing out there.
People in productivity always ask the first question. They say, well, Brendon, how do I evaluate things? Because I'm a productive person, but you know what happens to me is I keep getting distracted, or I don't know which one to do. I've got 2 good options. I'm not sure which one to do. I'll share with you my shorthand. I got 2 frameworks that help me every single time. They're like back of napkins things I can do that really help me decide between 2 different things, because I get offers all the time, as you can imagine. I'm like, it can be overwhelming. And so here's how I do it. Future value plus L. Oh, yeah, plus PD. Okay. This is my magical shorthand that helps me so much. The terms of any deal has to be less than ROI plus FV plus L plus PD. Okay, next up. Just check it if you're here. It's a super simple one. Okay, I got option A or option B. I'm gonna run them both through this equation, and whichever one wins is the one I'm most likely to choose. And if they're really close, I'll run them through the second framework I'm gonna show you. So the first one is easy. Time, energy, resources, money. This means the terms of any deal have to be less than. So in other words, what I put into something, whatever I put into something has to be less than what I think I'm gonna get out. How many follow? Very utilitarian, right? Very utilitarian value here. If I'm gonna put a bunch of stuff in, I better get more out, okay? And what I found is if I have a deal and I'm gonna put a bunch of time into it, or energy, or resources, or money, I better get more out of it. But what my magical thing was the S. This is the one no one ever thinks about, and everyone screws up, and they make a lot of decisions. A lot of utilitarian-minded people, very logical, strategic people, make decisions based on time, energy, resources, money, and they forgot the S in the equation, and you have too. Think about every bad decision you ever chose versus something else. You said, I wish I wouldn't have done that. You just did not consider this thing called sanity. How much time, energy, resources, money, and sanity am I gonna have to put into this thing? And I really gotta think about that, because how many of you ever did a deal with something where it literally, you had to work with someone who drove you insane? Great money, great output, but the input of my own sanity, it would have driven me crazy. Entrepreneurs make this mistake especially all the time. You don't think about how much craziness is gonna go into something. You just get attracted to the time, energy, resources, money. You're not thinking about the lifestyle or the community or other things that could really shape how sane it is, right? That's one thing I'm proud about with what we do with CHPC, is like, we make this a very sane, calming, comforting community. We step by step it, it's not scary, because I think a lot of other people, it's just easy to get attracted to things that drive you insane. And I think it's important for you all to care about your sane so you can bring the joy. Yes, okay. So whatever time, energy, resource, money, and sanity I put into something has to be, this is less than sign. I learned that in math once. Has to be less than what I get out of it in terms of ROI. You know what that means? Return on investment. So this is a straight 1-to-1. Whatever I put into it, I better get that out in investment. I better get that out. It better save me some time, build my energy, build my resources or my money, or I don't want to do it. That's straight up return on investment. And then FV is where most people fail to have strategy. FV stands for future value. Never do anything just for ROI. This is where they wreck kids in business school. They wreck them because we're still teaching straight up balance sheet mentality in the world. That's why our relationships are wrecked, because we're trying to have a balance sheet scorecard with our spouse. We're trying to equate things out with our spouses. How's that working for you? And so we start ruining our relationships because we are trying to get that balance sheet just even. And in real life, we want future value built into deals. I want you, if you're gonna do something, I want you to be able to look out and say, wow, that's gonna benefit me in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. Like I can see how that piece right now, that's gonna be a building block that's gonna serve me later on. And if you can't see that, whatever deal you're doing as a stepping stone, don't do the deal. And especially don't get trapped in the idea of thinking whatever deal you're gonna do is a final stepping stone. Because a lot of people, especially when you're starting, you're like, that deal will change my life. That's it. That's all I need. I'll be good for life. That means your short-term survival thinking, not strategic growth thinking. When you start thinking about future value, you make very different decisions. Very, very different decisions. It makes you write different books. It makes you build different programs. It changes the way you sell. It changes the products that you build in your company. You got to go back to future value thinking, including every little thing that you do. If you hire people, don't hire people to fill in a short-term need. Hire future value players. Can I get an amen on a Sunday? Right? Don't go out with somebody just because they're just there. Date future value people. Don't have short-term friends just because you need to lean on somebody who's a complainer. Create friendships with future value people. Your job is to always be honoring and protecting and standing at the gates as guard and champion of your future. Everyone raise your right hand and say, my future matters. My future matters. So I have to be strategic. So I have to be strategic. The way to be productive is to be more strategic. The way to be productive is to do the things that add future value. You got to look past the short term, go for the long-term plays, and the long-term value will change your life. Then if entrepreneurs typically suck at sanity in their evaluations, then on the other side, they always fail on the big L. Lifestyle. They'll take the deal because it's good time. It's energy. It's making a lot of money. It's not too crazy. It's not too crazy. I can handle it, but they're not thinking on the other side, boy, if I say yes to that, that means I'm gonna be working 20 more hours a week. Who's ever said yes to something that made you work 20 or 30 or 40 more hours a week and you didn't anticipate it? Yeah, I've been there too. And listen, is that related to your productivity, yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah. When you make decisions and you're not looking at the future value or thinking lifestyle, no wonder your short-term productivity is wrecked. Because you said yes or jumped into something that wasn't your thing. It wasn't of your character. It wasn't who you are. It wasn't the lifestyle you wanted to be. It wasn't who you wanted to become. And that's because you didn't take into account personal development either. You can't keep saying yes or keep evaluating things in like, well, that sounds good. Just because it's good, does it serve who you want to become?
Hey everybody, it's Brendon Burchard. I'm back in the big studio and fired up about an awesome session today. We have a huge curriculum today to help you learn how to think through what things hurt you in the short term or help you, and what things are really the things that are setting you up for longer term success. I don't know about you, but there was a big part of my life where I was too sort of impulse driven. You know, that part of you when you're in high school or in your 20s or early 30s that A lot of it's just like, oh, what do I think will feel good? Or I want to try everything. And you're driven so much by just in the moment decisions based on your comfort and like what your interests are, that sometimes it actually costs you from building something that will give you fulfillment, from creating the lifestyle that you really want to have, from building wealth to building the right relationships to just having sanity in your life. I don't know about you, but my 20s, there was no sanity in my 20s. My 20s were just like go, 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 at the cost of health, relationships, like just constant stress, anxiety, fear. And at some point, you have to realize that's a choice. It's a choice based on what you're saying yes to and what you're failing to say no to. And often, with my highest level coaching clients, and some of you guys know I'm blessed to have multiple 7-figure coaching clients who I just spend the year with, almost always the highest level people that I get to work with, they're really struggling with these types of decisions. These are really big topics for today. Let's jump in. Short term versus long term. The first thing that we tend to do in the short term, and many of you guys ask me this question every single month, is we tend to value and prioritize stability. And funny enough, it seems like something we would all want, right? We know from human behavior and human motivation studies that people want, safety, they want belonging, they want sustenance, they want shelter, and all these things are things of like, oh, this is stability. I know what my day is going to be like, or even if there's uncertainty there, because I don't really believe in people who perpetuate certainty, because there's no such thing as having total certainty in ourselves or others if we can remain humble and open to the world. And the more that we want certainty and want to grab it all the time, the more we tend to lose the pop and the vibrancy of life, and the more we're disappointed all the time, because nothing is ever perfect. But what we do want is stability. Big difference, right? Certainty, I need to know exactly what's going on. Stability, there's a lot going on here, but I feel safe and secure and stable. And so this is a good thing. And often people make choices in the short term for stability. They're like, oh, well, I guess I better get a job, I better, be nice to this person so they don't go crazy on me. These are things that we do in our life, taking a certain job, staying a certain job, treating people in a certain way so they don't leave us, so that we have a sense of stability. So it's not a negative thing. And I don't want any of these necessarily to feel like I'm saying they're all negative. But what happens is they tend to turn negative if they're a consistent thinking pattern or a consistent value ethic that we have to have. And let me give you an example here on stability. And this is specifically related to you guys because you ask me about this every month. You say, well, Brendon, I'm thinking about quitting my job, but I haven't done it yet. Can you give me confidence? Or when would you do it? Or how would you recommend I go into that transition? I hear that all the time for you guys in this community, like, how do I switch careers? When do I switch careers? And the reason that we don't want to do it often is because we're seeking stability, and it's scary, right? Quitting a job, leaving an environment, breaking up with a relationship. I mean, how many of you guys down below, by like a show of hands down below, if you just like type in the emoji of like hands like this, how many of you have ever stayed in a relationship too dang long? You were in a relationship too long because you just wanted this, or you wanted to please somebody who wanted this. And so they wanted this, or you wanted this. So in the short term, you kept compromising. You kept settling for something that was less than you. You kept allowing behavior that was not right? And that was just, you need to know that short-term stability-seeking things tends to really hurt us when that short-term value ethic, I need stability, plays out month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year. One day you wake up and you look back at the last 5 years and you're like, oh my God, I've been stuck in something I didn't want to be in, but I didn't have the guts to leave. And what I tell people is, you know what? It's not always a lack of courage that prevented you from going, though we can talk about that. It's often that you just overvalued stability. Does that make sense? I mean, we're in a world right now where everyone says, if you don't do something, well, you're a chicken, you're crap, you're, what's wrong with you? You have no courage. And I'm like, it's stop just going to people's character like that, right? It's like, well, this must be wrong. They're just weak-willed humans. They lack courage. And it's like, God, calm down, guy. Get off the caffeine and let's just have a conversation. Because what happens is most bad decisions you've made isn't because you lack good qualities. It's because you overvalued something for too long. And often you overvalued something good for too long. Meaning, often people don't leave a relationship or a bad career because it's not they're lacking good qualities, they're overvaluing stability. It's a short-term thing they're trying to get, but it became a long-term strategy. Does this make sense? So they valued stability so long, it overcame other values that would have helped them have more freedom. And see, it's almost like the opposite, and that's what I want to point out today. Like, if we keep seeking stability over and over and over and over and over again, eventually we end up in stuff that we don't ask to grow or get better. We won't rock the boat. We won't leave things because we need to feel so stable. And then that comes often at the cost of our long-term value that we need to be seeking, which is fulfillment, right? It's almost like there is a polarity here. I don't want to say it's like one and another. It's more like a pendulum. And what's happening sometimes for people is they're so far in stability, they're not asking, what would really fulfill me? And what would really bring me alive? What would make me feel connected and happy? So think about it. If you're in a place where you're always seeking stability and you're making compromises for that because you don't want to rock the boat, don't want to upset people, don't want to take risk, OMG, then you never ask the bigger question, the longer term stuff, well, what would make me feel fulfilled? See, sometimes we need to move away from stability for moments and move towards fulfillment. And this is how I would get to this question you always ask me about jobs and relationships in this community. And when I think about okay, how do you leave a job? I'll tell you exactly what I did when you guys know my story is becoming a writer. When I was at Accenture, which was a consulting company I worked for 7 years, it was very stable, which is funny. What it meant was it was stable because I got a paycheck all the time, but it was not stable for my mind. It was almost like I valued the wrong thing. I valued that stable paycheck, but for my mind, it was not a healthy job. I was in 16 cities, every single quarter. I was all over the place. It was working every single day for 6 years straight till midnight, 2 a.m, always being on call, 24/7, 7 days a week for 6 years straight, while traveling Monday through Thursday through different cities into different organizations where there was no clear mission or clear boss or clear real goals except for little projects, but there was no values to what I felt like I was doing. But sure, why did I make it there 6 years when the whole time I want to be a writer? What would bring me heart and joy would be the fulfillment of writing and coaching. Why did I take that long to leave? Because I overvalued this and I undervalued that. So I kept protecting this and not acting towards that. Protecting this and failing to act towards that. And so one day I had to get real with it and I said, okay, I got to make the switch a little bit here. And what I decided to do is I said, I wonder if I can put myself out there as a speaker, as a coach, as a writer, and I wonder if I could figure out a way that I would know that would probably make that career, now we just call it the influencer career, it used to be just thought leader or expert career, but I was like, I wonder if I could earn 20-25% as a writer or a speaker on the side over here, and if I could get that, just kind of doing it on the side, well then that would be just enough to meet my need for stability, but really serve my senses of fulfillment, and I could step away from this thing that I think adds stability. And because if I'm spending full time over here in this career, but I know I can see I can earn even 20%, 30% over here, I'd be willing to leave that, jump over here, because if I gave my full-time efforts full-time efforts over here, it would build up. And that was my assumption and my way of thinking. And I'm not making that my recommendation to anybody here, because 20% was arbitrary. You might want 40% or 50%. You might have family. You might have higher, obligations, debts, challenges, more responsibilities than I did when I made that decision in my, mid-20s or late 20s. But I think that's really important to hear. Often we get stuck in valuing a good thing, stability, at the cost of the long term. This is the most important thing today. Almost always, your sense of need to feel safe, secure, things are going good, things are predictable. I mean, it's why people won't leave, even horrible situations, abusive relationships, terrible, unfulfilling jobs. They don't walk away because they're like, well, at least I know this, right? That old thing, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So they stay with the devil they know. And the sad thing is they assume everything's a devil. And they don't realize that sometimes after that transition, we can find new areas of opportunity. After that transition, when we go into new things, more positive relationships can open up, more opportunities to lead, more opportunities to serve, more opportunities to love and feel. Is there anything you have been putting up with too long? Is there anything you've been putting up with too long? Bad job, bad relationship, even for yourself, bad habits just because you know what they are? I'm just trying to say, in our human psychology, stability is a big driver that often keeps us put. This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.